Iolanda, thank you so much for joining us. So I think we just wanted to start with, what was your relationship to Eurovision like growing up?
I've started seeing Eurovision around 2008 with the Senhora do Mar, with Vânia Fernandes. That was the moment that I remember, like, most vivid moment of Eurovision. We didn't send anyone from Portugal for a couple of years, I think, and then we had a revamp of the festival, and then I started seeing more accurately. I remember imagining what would it be if I could be in her position. She was my singing teacher for a year. Yeah, so it was crazy.
When you were younger, did you have, outside of Eurovision, like musical idols who you looked to? And now, who are you influenced by as an artist?
I think growing up, I had a lot of traditional Portuguese groups that I was paying attention to. Obviously, the Fado situation was something that I had a lot in my mind. I didn't want to become a Fado singer, but my mom would listen to a lot of Fado, my dad as well. And I used to play in these traditional Portuguese music groups, playing like some traditional instruments. So I think that kind of paved the way for my creations. But I think since I was like, I don't know, 13, 12, I used to listen to all of the pop artists like Rihanna, Shakira, all of those big artists, Britney. I don't exactly have a preferred style. I like hip hop, I like pop, I like a lot of flamenco as well. I like to mixture between contemporary, electronic. I think that's how you create like good songs, I guess.
It's amazing that you mentioned Fado, because like your EP, this sort of sense of like longing and like complicated love.
Oh, you heard it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Nice.
Of course. Yeah.
Cool.
It's beautiful. It's really
Thank
beautiful. On some fundamental level, like feels very Portuguese to me.
Definitely, and you have that long-lasting feeling of like hope and getting reunited with a person. In that case, I'm talking about like a love story that ended, actually. It ended well, but I wanted to like express all the different phases of love. I don't remember exactly a moment where I started to sound a bit like Fado, but definitely there's something in the vocals or maybe the cadences and the melodies that I use that resembles that. But it was not on purpose, and it's really cool to live between these vibes because they definitely resonate in me. Basically, it was a relationship that I lived actually like 5 years before I wrote the EP. So it was not something that I was living in a moment. I was writing something very true to myself, and it was something that I was always thinking. So the relationship kept on being present in my mind at the time. So I thought, okay, I need to take this out of my brain very soon because it's out of my heart. Why is not out of my brain? Why am I still thinking about this? I really wanted to give it a moment of being like forever in the world, I guess. It's not exactly like a homage to it, but it was a beautiful relationship. So I thought, okay, maybe I can leave it in the world in the most beautiful way I can.
Bringing yourself back to those moments, was that difficult at all?
It was difficult because some of the songs were already written. So I had like verses, I had choruses. I was doing a puzzle with everything, and I wanted to chronologically make sense. Sometimes I wanted to talk about a specific feeling, and I had to kind of go back to the feeling that I felt back then. And that's a complicated process. How can I go back at that moment and take out everything in the most beautiful way possible or in the most ugly way possible? Because sometimes like music is not about just like beauty. Sometimes those feelings are difficult, definitely, to take out of yourself or to pull them back, because sometimes they're not there anymore and you have to not pretend, but I think imagine them being there again.
Can you talk about how finding your voice as a songwriter helped you find your actual voice as a performer?
I started being a singer in bars and pubs and etc., singing other songs, and I not struggled, but it was something on my mind all the time. When I was singing other songs, I was not exactly doing their versions. I was doing my versions all the time. But when I start writing my songs, that's when you understand exactly what you want to do at that moment, obviously, because this is constantly changing and we're constantly like evolving or going back to find something we got lost in the past, or we want to revive that moment. It's definitely, for me, an ongoing process.
You're now in Eurovision with Brito.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about that as kind of a culmination of the work that you did on your EP in a certain way.
I didn't exactly do a song for Eurovision. I brought something that spoke true to me and to my artistry, because obviously I will, after Eurovision, continue to be an artist. It's like the biggest thing I've ever done, definitely, and it will be probably the biggest thing I will do for a couple of years. But you should bring something that speaks to you, and not exactly something that is made for a specific contest or show or platform, because you're speaking as an artist, you're not speaking as a machine or as a robot. I wanted to have something that could be so true to myself that I would defend for the rest of my life with a lot of strength.
Can you talk specifically about the inspiration for the song and what caused you to take your mental health more seriously?
I was living this kind of phase where I didn't want to write about love. I was sick of writing about love. And I was going through that journey of thinking, what am I doing in this world? So I guess it's a song that talks about their inner light that you still have, but sometimes it's kind of covered by the shadows of people that don't want you, because you kind of lay down in your bed alone. Even if you are with someone, you fall asleep alone, you die alone, you wake up alone. And we should feel comfortable within our bodies, and we should accept our differences. So I guess this is me trying to also accept that I fail, accept that I'm not exactly perfect.
Grito, for those who don't know, means scream. And you described it not as screaming for help, but as screaming to be heard.
I'm not asking for help when I'm screaming. I'm literally like releasing all the energy from years and years of doubting, of not trusting even myself or others' work, especially as a woman. I'm screaming not exactly to say, look, help me. No, I'm not a victim. I'm literally like marking a position, marking a statement.
Your songwriting is so personal. And there's, I would imagine, like kind of a dual purpose to that. It's like, one, writing as expression, or almost writing as kind of a personal therapy. And then also this idea of writing as communication, and knowing that probably other people feel these things, putting them out there will hopefully make other people not feel so alone. How do you think about those two impulses?
For me, it's also a process of learning as well, because when I listen to a Beyonce track from Renaissance, I'm not listening in the same way that I'm listening a Portuguese contemporary song, for example. Obviously, sometimes I think we should decomplicate the songs to get into people's heads more often, because if I was working a 9-to-5 job, I don't want to go out of my job and listen to something very complicated, maybe. And I'm going to listen to something more simple. It's always a matter of being true to what you want to do, and not exactly like trying to map out different ideas because you want to reach something.
Now, Grito was recorded at your grandparents' house.
Can you know a lot of things. You've been studying it. I'm loving it. Somebody should make you make more money. If you need, I can make the conversation for you.
That's amazing.
You're now representing us.
Yes, I can do
You're our agent.
But go, Magnus. I obviously cut it.
Oh, no, you do not have to apologize for complimenting us. So
okay, I'll continue doing it.
But yeah, no. So you recorded the song at your grandparents' house.
Well, my grandparents, I've lost them when I was 12 or 13. They were very hardworking people. My grandfather built his own house with his own hands. I was in my early years house playing with my dolls and my cars and everything, and just like living a child's life, super happy in this little village with no one. I think probably like 100 people live there, 200, I'm not sure, maybe less.
There's something really amazing and beautiful, I think, about the sort of juxtaposition between writing it in such an intimate place, something that's very personal, and then putting it on literally the biggest stage in the whole world.
I don't know what my grandparents would think about all of this if they were here. I have my mom's side grandparents, and they lived a lot of this national selection process because I brought them to the studio. It was crazy. I got my granddad to the green room. He was there with me the whole time. I think it was more exciting for him than for me, because I was just worried that he was going to be okay. He was just enjoying it.
Speaking of that national final, the performance and the choreography was so striking. Can you talk about how that all came together?
I don't exactly imagine only the song. I'm also like always imagining a video or a reels or like any aesthetic element. So basically, when I decided to accept the invitation, I thought, okay, I don't want to go alone on stage. I want to go in white, and I want to have my Beyonce moment, even though I will never dance like Beyonce, and I've made my peace with it. I'm okay with that. It's fine. I accept that Beyonce dances better than me. Beyonce, if you're listening to this, I want to have a lesson, at least one.
I will point out she's a very regular listener.
Exactly. So if you're listening to this, please teach your girl. She wants to learn. We have like 2 days in Portugal, I think, to decide how we're going to send it. So I thought I will be ready, because if this happens, I don't want to be running. I don't like to run. I hate to do my job in a rush, like creative needs time to be creative.
Sort of off of that, you released your debut EP last year. You're going to Eurovision, and then directly after Eurovision, you're doing 2 major concerts in Portugal.
I know.
So every artist we talk to goes, oh my God, preparing for Eurovision is the most intense thing I've ever done. It's so crazy. And then you've got this whole other layer on top of that.
Charlie, it's been crazy. It's been mental. It's been hectic. We're doing 2 major dates. We sold out the first one. You should prepare yourself as an artist and as a person to live more after Eurovision, because Eurovision is definitely that platform. You will definitely meet tons and tons of people, fans, supporters, people that don't like you, people that don't exactly resonate with your song, which they're also necessary, because if we liked all of the same, this would be boring as hell.
This is a question that's mostly just personally for me, because I'm interested in advice.
I'm your girl, Charlie. Tell me.
Good. So, has the hypnotherapy been helpful?
I actually don't like planes, so basically, I started doing it to kind of heal myself and just enjoy a bit of the plane ride, because I don't love them. I hate them. They're not cool. It's a can in the middle of the air. But basically, I think it helps with concentrating yourself in the right mindset and etc. But there's tons and tons of different therapy. You have psychotherapy. I'm still going to start psychotherapy sooner or later. Not exactly to heal any specific trauma, but just to get to know myself better, because that's also cool. Therapy, it's for everyone.
There's been this sort of old idea in Eurovision that songs in English tend to do better because more of the audience understands the language. So there are artists who talk about feeling a certain pressure to submit songs in English. For Grito, was that ever a question in your mind?
Well, to be honest, no. I love my language. I love Portuguese, and I think I communicate better in Portuguese. And I've tried to write English back when I was in London, and it was not exactly so true to myself. I was forcing it. Music is the feeling you're conveying in the performance, is also the melodies, is also the chords. The tension in the chords speak differently from one to another. If there's a major chord, it's going to be very different from a diminished chord that is more tense. And I know my song, for example, has a lot of tense notes, and it's not that difficult to understand that I'm talking about something strong. The message is strong.
But I think also you look at Portuguese success. It's not like Salvador Sobral probably didn't engineer.
Oh, I'm so sure he never thought about that. We should allow all of those differences, because one strategy is not the winning strategy. Everything can happen, and especially in a contest with so many songs, with so many styles. There's a lot of angles to approach Eurovision. For me, the angle is obviously enjoying it as much as I can and just fight for my voice to be heard.
You recently attended your first pre-party.
I was not expecting that it was so big. I think it was the first time I was so close to something as Eurovision is going to be. You know what I mean? Like a warm up of what's going to happen there, times 100, obviously, because it's going to be much bigger, I know. But it's just really cool to just live that experience for a couple of days priorly to Eurovision.
We keep hoping they're going to bring a pre-party to New York.
Please invite me, and I will go on that plane forever and ever and ever.
I will say each of us has a guest room.
Yes.
That's right.
Period.
We will be in Malmo, so we
can do that. You find me, please. You find me.
We have our great representative now.
Yeah, well, that's true. We do have a new manager, so
exactly.
It's you.
If you need anything, just talk with me, and I will manage you guys.
Someone needs to manage us. In general. Yolanda, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
This has been an absolutely delightful conversation. So thank you so much for your time. All the
mysteries of the Eurovision.